I'm Commander Shepard, and the Unnamed Games podcast is my favorite podcast on the Citadel. Shepard out.
Hello, people of the internet. It is me, Craig, and we are back after another long break from the last one. I love all this boogieing; it's great. With a new episode number 51. So let's go around the room and say hello to everyone. Mr. Thunderlips McQueen, how are you, my man?
I keep thinking I'm out, but you just keep reeling me back in.
You love it. Good man. And Mr. Ratley Ratster, how are you, mate?
I could complain it doesn't do me any good when I do, so I might as well just show up here and just say random things to the internet like you guys. So, as Alan said, Happy New Year. Let's all enjoy a Dr. Pepper Zero.
Nice stuff, man. Nice stuff.
We're not sponsored by.
No, not sponsored. Not sponsored.
Well, if they want to sponsor me,
slightly and show your T-shirt off though, because it is pretty epic. He's got Moss from the IT crowd.
And they got Moss from the IT crowd.
It was an easy decision to buy this T-shirt when I saw it. I was like, yes.
Are we showing off T-shirts? I've got the BFG 10,000.
Yes!
Nice. And not to forget about you, Mr. Phil, last but certainly not least, Speed Freak Phil. How are you, buddy?
He says that every time, and he puts me last every time.
Yeah.
I'm still taking it personally right now.
And save the best till last. And it's nice to do a live episode like this. We're actually streaming up on YouTube, also on Twitch and on Twitter. And already, look, we have a little comment from our friend Paddy and Isaac. Missed that theme.
Does he work in the music industry? That's uncanny.
I mean, I'll be honest. That is like he's missed that theme. For us, it's like a form of PTSD. That theme, surely. You know? It's like, we're back in.
I'm not ready.
It's like every time we play Horizon 5 and then somebody puts the team's music as the horn, and then I get fear, like, oh my God, is work ringing me? What's going on?
Am I supposed to be in a meeting?
Oh no! It's ringing. What is it?
Good stuff. Right. Okay. So, as you can probably see by the title, we have one major story that we want to talk about today. But before we move on to that, I just want to kind of go back around the room and just get... we're not going to do a big session on what we've been up to, because sometimes that can take an hour within itself. So what I'm doing is I'm going to...
He thinks he's in control, people. He thinks... But,
I think I can mute him though, but yeah. So anyway, so what we do is going to go around the room. I'm going to have a chat with each of the guys, and just if you guys can let us know a couple of your favourite things that you've been doing since the last time we met. Might be a game, might be a TV show that you've watched, might be a film, and we can just have a little chat about it. So I'm going to go first to Mr. Thunderlips McQueen.
Oh, you should have gone to Phil first. You should have gone to Phil first. Surely.
No, he's last.
No, he's less important.
As discussed, I'm always last. To be fair, he said things that you've enjoyed doing, and I can't talk about those.
I'm literally just going to say we're trying to keep this PG-13, so I'm going to skip the thing I've most enjoyed doing since we last spoke. But
and hello, Ryan, my son.
Yeah, you see,
hello, Ryan.
That would be the PG-13. Yeah. So a couple of things that I've enjoyed recently. I've watched a couple of films with the lady wife, and I'm kind of tossed up between which one I want to talk about. But I watched Ghostbusters Afterlife. Really, very happy with the results of that film. Very little to complain about, and I'm really being picky if I do. I think the whole atmosphere and everything was great, but I don't want to talk about that film.
Fair enough.
Because I want to talk about Spider-Man No Way Home. And I want to talk about how much I loved Spider-Man No Way Home.
Spoiler free, of course.
Spoiler free. But you know, I mean, considering it's the third film, we're talking emo Peter Parker. We're talking so many villains thrown in that you can't. And we thought, okay, so there's going to be Doc Ock. There's going to be like the Green Goblin. It's going to be Sandman. There's going to be like Electro. Is it Electro? I can't remember the name.
Electro, indeed.
Electro, yeah.
There's going to be all these different bad guys. It's going to be a complete mess, and it's absolutely freaking brilliant. It's absolutely awesome. It ticks all the boxes. I walked out of that movie. In fact, both me and my wife Ellie, we walked out of the movie. We were like, that was great. That was really good. I really, really enjoyed that. I really did. And there's so much I want to talk about, but I don't want to, because if you haven't seen it, I strongly recommend that you watch it without having any outside interference. There was a lot of talk before the film came out, and I do not want to spoil anything about what might or might not happen in the film. But what did happen in the film was extremely well handled, even down to the end of the film, after scenes credits involving, certain characters, again, that I don't want to drop. How
can I talk about this without
I can't talk about
saying anything about it?
Exactly. I'm just talking complete nonsense because I can't actually say anything. But what I can say is that I would be really surprised if you went and saw this film and you didn't come out with a big smile on your face. For a third film in a trilogy of Spider-Man films, it delivers on so many fronts. And there's so many moments in that film where you go, oh, wow, that's just brilliant. That's just really, really good. And I'm just going to say I thought it was amazing.
Yeah.
And if you haven't seen it, you don't know what I'm talking about.
Alan.
Exactly, thank you. So I'll move on from that because, as I say, I don't want to have any spoilers. And there's not much more I can say other than that it was such a good film. Game-wise, I was saying to Craig just the other day, I've really, really been kind of in this limbo, trying to find something to play. I've put on games I've tried before we leave. There's so much choice these days, right? When you're talking about Game Pass, which is part of what we're going to be talking about today, but when you've got like Game Pass Ultimate, which you don't even have to pay for because Phil pays for it, which is, pretty damn good. Yeah.
You're welcome, buddy.
It's all right, thanks, mate. But I've got all these games I can play. So many games. But yeah, I load up a game and I play it and I think, yeah, it's a good game. But then I don't come back like a second or a third time. Yeah, before we leave, Life After the Aftermath, which is not a Game Pass game. That's actually one I bought on Steam. And then Craig messages me and he goes, hey, mate, this game I've tried out, I think you might like it. It's called Project Zomboid. And I went, oh, right, okay, Project Zomboid. I've actually, one of my streamers that I enjoy watching, a guy called Radamant, shout out to him, great streamer, really good. Mostly he plays RimWorld, which I may have talked about before. That was a previous obsession.
You had mentioned
Just
it,
a
yeah.
little
You had.
bit.
Yeah. I liked it a little bit. I mean, just a little. Just
Just a little. Yeah.
I've never played it, but Alan's discussion of that game makes me feel like I've played 100 hours.
Yeah, and you're still
Every
having
facet of
yeah,
it.
still having flashbacks, yeah, like LSD. Sorry, Ryan, you won't know what that is. Don't worry about it. And then he said, so he said, I bought it, and then he played through the training mission, and I was like, okay. So I thought, because I'd seen this stream report, I thought I'll pump up to 15 quid. It's only 15 quid on Steam. I'll buy it. So I bought it. And then we tried to play multiplayer, and it just didn't work. We couldn't get it working. It is, to be fair, it's a very small development studio. I think
And it's early access.
Yeah, and it's early access. I think it's like 6 guys working on it, and it's essentially, it's like they looked at State of Decay and went, "It's a bit easy, isn't it?" Yeah, no, it's too easy. Yeah, so and then they just basically made it ridiculously hard. I've watched some reviews and it's like I put on the game, and then 5 minutes later I was dead. So I started another game. 6 minutes later, I was dead. I put on the game. 7 minutes later, I was dead. And that
what does it say right at the start when you load in?
This is how you died.
Yeah,
yeah, basically, it is, and it has a depth of complexity that is phenomenal. You can build whole houses and whole cars from scratch, but quite frankly, getting past the first 5 minutes without you getting your face eaten off is a challenge all in itself. But once you start to get a feeling for it, I've been playing it for just over a week now. And has it been a week? It's been about a week. It's been like a big blur. I mean, I've just kind of zoned out on it. I'm about 45 hours in after 1 week. It's like a job. And I've got to the point now where I died today on my current character, who was called Savannah. Dear God. See, the funny thing is I started naming my characters when I first started playing, and then they just died.
Dangerous.
So I've stopped naming them because it's so pointless. So I ended up with this character called Savannah, and then
sounds like a stripper. It sounds like a stripper.
Basically, but she was supposed to be a firewoman because I picked that character trait. But
so she's used to sliding down a pole.
She was the longest. Oh,
I mean,
nice
Phil,
work.
man.
Nice work. A round of applause.
To be fair to Phil,
Fireman's pole.
to be fair to Phil, that was beautifully done. He managed to tie stripper, fireman, and being entirely inappropriate in one seamless move.
But it was still PG-13. It was still PG-13.
I have to give Phil
like
props for that.
minutes.
Yeah,
10.
Phil, you deserve some kind of medal for that one, sir. I've got to be honest. That was
But
well done.
I would have to say that Project Zomboid is a game that rewards dedication. If you put in the hours and you keep playing it, that character I survived for 3 whole weeks. I didn't die by zombies. Every single character before this character died because I got eaten by zombies because I did stupid things like I went out too tired or I wasn't looking behind. Because if you don't look behind you, nothing shows on the screen. You have to be looking for you to be able to see anything. It's
Your
that
constant
hardcore.
cone of vision.
Yeah,
haven't you?
yeah. If there's a tree, you can't see behind the tree. It's absolutely mental. But I didn't die because I got eaten by zombies for Savannah. I died because I jumped over a fence, scratched my leg, the wound got infected, and I died from that. That's how hardcore it is.
Mate, that game is ridiculous. So I want to tell you my little experience of playing through this game. So the one time I did get into the game and get started up, I started in a room and I was like, okay, let's have a look around. I started reading a book to learn about electronics. Turns out I didn't really need to worry about doing that. I found a box, went, a meat cleaver. This will do me nicely. Thought, right, let's have a wander around this house. Oh no, what's that noise? Bang, bang, bang. It was a zombie straight away at the window. Smashed through the window. I panicked, ran outside, straight into another zombie. Panicked, ran down the road, straight into another zombie. And I spent about 15 minutes running down the road from zombie to zombie to zombie. When I finally found a location where there was no zombies in a lumberyard where there was nothing, no food, no medicine, no weapons, no clothing, no armour. I wandered around in there for a little bit, bleeding, until I just basically gave up. I just walked into about 7 and went, do you know what? I've had enough, just eat me. And that was it. That game is far too hardcore.
It is. It's like Dark Souls on steroids. It is. It's absolutely mental. But however, I have to say, as I said, because of the depth and the complexity of what you can do, if you actually get good, which is what older folks are being told to do by younger folks all the time. If you actually get good. The amount of depth to it is just phenomenal, and I am loving it, and it is my current obsession. Craig and Phil want me to play Star Wars: The Old Republic, and I've played a bit, and it's really, really good, and I'm very keen to play with them, but I just can't stop playing Project Zomboid because I'm so obsessed with it. It's ridiculously good.
Al, sorry, Thunderlips, I should say. I was at Craig's today. We were doing that. I was giving him some pointers on mini painting. I'm sure it will come to this at some point. Oh, there he is, the proud little mini.
Here we go.
And we were just while we were waiting for I think it was the base coat to dry, the spray that Craig had put on. We just went and had a look at some. He was showing me some games on his PC, showing me some stuff, right? And you popped up and you just said playing Project Zomboid. And Craig just went, Alan's obsessed with this game, like proper obsessed with it. And you are proving your point.
I'm in full bore, ladies. I am in full bore. So that is my current obsession. I'll pass the mic.
He's not even ashamed. You can hide offline as invisible on Steam if you don't want people to know.
He doesn't care. He's proud of it.
I'm proud. I'm proud. I'm very, very proud of it.
He wears his needle marks with pride.
my countless deaths.
Anyway, moving round next, we'll go to Mr. Ratley Ratster. Come on then, mate. What have you been up to?
Well, I mean, where do I start? Let's talk about a show I finished watching just actually night before last, which was I finally finished season 3 of Netflix Lost in Space. And I've been waiting to watch season 3 for a while because I was watching some other stuff. And I got to say, I thoroughly enjoyed that show from start to finish. I didn't think the ending was super strong. I've got to be honest. It felt a bit like they wanted to set up a series in case they got picked up for further adventures. And I was a little disappointed. Whilst I loved the way they wrote the ending between Robot and Sar, I won't spoil it. I was a little disappointed with the fact you never really got to see that happen, if you know what I mean. There was a point where you were like, you wanted that. Patrick bringing us back to Phil's level there.
And that's
I'll say you won't
precisely
la-
why
you-
I didn't comment or read it out.
You won't last long if that's what you're up to with the zombies. I'm going to tell you that straight from the off.
So yeah, back to Lost in Space. And I did really enjoy the storytelling throughout. The acting was great. Casting was great. I really thought that the woman they had playing Dr. Smith was great. The whole series has been thoroughly enjoyable and some damn good sci-fi at points. Is it the best thing I've ever seen? No. Is it definitely worth your time? 100%. I've really enjoyed it. I'd quite happily watch it through again. It's not going to make like you've got to see what's Lost in Space, but you do that. Like unlike the other thing which I've restarted watching, which is because I've been listening to a podcast for Battlestar Galactica, and I started rewatching that. I'm not going to go into Battlestar, but if you know my feelings on Battlestar, I started watching it. I was like, oh my god, this show, and that is literally I just keep playing people. You haven't seen it? I'll lend you the DVDs. You've got to watch it. It's the best show in the world. So. Lost in Space doesn't quite hit that mark for me, but I genuinely think if you've got some time to kill and you want to watch a good show, it's a brilliant show. Definitely,
it's a great,
really entertaining,
and it's a family show as well.
Yeah,
it's something
yeah.
You want to watch with the family. There's nothing in there at all. Kind of reminds me of Sunday afternoon matinees. I say reminds me. I'm not that old, but you know what I mean. It's that kind of tone. And it's brought up to the current generation of the way you make TV programs. I hear what you're saying about some of the misses, definitely. But overall, I agree with your overall sentiment. I enjoyed it. It was great fun, and I would watch it. I'd own it because it was just a really good, fun TV show.
It's a really easy watch. Like I wasn't so keen on season 1. Like I thought it started a little slow, but I get where they were going. But then I really enjoyed season 2, and that
season 2 was the
season
peak.
3.
Season 2 was the peak, 100%.
Pushed me into season 3, and you know what? It was a nice ending.
Yeah, as much as like you saying, it had a really nice ending, and I liked what they did with Robot and Will and Sar, but there was a bit of me very unsatisfied that we never got that kind of that you really want. They
sort of like you said, they left it as though maybe somebody else will buy us and we'll get another season, didn't they?
Or they left it so if Netflix decide to come back to it at any point. It's there, and they can do something with it. But like I say, overall, I think they did a really good job. And like you were saying, Alan, there's that family element to it. I remember watching the original Lost in show as repeats as a kid. Lost in Space, and it was a very cheesy, chintzy, but family fun show. And I think they've got that spirit of it very much with this remake. Whereas the film, when they did it with Matt LeBlanc was a real sort of cheesy action romp, and it wasn't.
I think I'm in a minority because I really love the film. I love it. I think the problem with the film is the plot was a little bit too complicated, and people didn't understand it with the whole time and different, realities, kind of issues, kind of.
I can't even remember that film.
Yeah, people didn't understand it, but I thought I loved Matt LeBlanc, and I loved it, the whole.
Gary Oldman is always great.
Yeah,
anything
absolutely fantastic. Although I have to say that I can't remember the name of the actress, but for the TV series, it was an absolute fantastic move.
Yeah, she was great. She was great.
That lady is Dr. Smith.
She was really
brilliant.
She was a real highlight through season 3 as well. Actually, she pulled some episodes right out of the gutter for me.
You never really knew whether she was pulling the good card or the bad card.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Very manipulative.
She's somebody you really want to hate, and she plays it so well. I love that about her.
Yeah, and just when you think you've got that point where you're like, I definitely hate her, she goes into something really nice, and you're like, what is going on here? So recommend that show loads. In terms of gaming, I've kind of been a bit like Alan, a bit all over the shop, but I've dabbled in Infinite, and I'm kind of not in the space to really dig deep in it. Well, what I have been doing with Chet when I have been online, me and him have been back in the Division 2, but we're playing it on hardcore mode, which is one life and you're done. So it doesn't matter what level your agent's at, how far you've got, what missions you've done. If you die, you die. There is no resin, so you've got and it's amazing how when you play a game that was designed with the whole respawn mechanic and keep going and just gear up and the whole idea is to things how different you start to approach that game when it's like, so if I die, the last 30 hours are for nothing. And it changes the way I must admit I've been quite lucky as well, because we got to level 30, which is obviously like the first big achievement. You have to get through most of the campaign, hit level 30, and we hit the level 30 cap, and then we could equip level 30 gear. Now, one thing about hardcore agents in Division is they don't get access to your stash, so you can't just hand gear over from other agents. However, if stuff gets sent to your stash on another agent, it appears on your hardcore agent in their stash. So that's, whilst you can't pull stash things from the stash, you can kind of acquire things you shouldn't have. So I didn't realize this and logged in when I'd been gifted a exotic cache from Ubisoft once. And right at the beginning, I opened it on my hardcore character and I was like level 7 and got gifted a level 30 exotic. And I'm just like, this was stupid. Because if I die, I'm going to lose that. But we hit level 30 and I have this Pestilence, which is the LMG. And it turns out that it dropped at like maximum gear score for like level 30. So when we got to level 30, I just put this Pestilence on and I'm just walking into rooms, hosing one guy down, then watching everything slowly die to it. So it's like we've unlocked easy mode and hardcore at level 30. So it's been
Is
quite
that the
fun.
gun that like fires forever that you had?
No, that's the Bullet King. The Bullet King has unlimited bullets, basically. Yeah, and you never need to reload it. But the Bullet King was that thing where if you hit 100 shots, it puts 100 rounds back into the magazine. So if you never miss, you never run out of bullets. It's brilliant. Yeah. But yeah, the Pestilence has the talent that every bullet you hit adds a mark onto it, which does a tick damage for, I think it's 2% of the weapon's damage. But that can stack up to 100 times. So when you get to that point, it just goes ooh, ooh, and eats things' health. And then it goes, oh, there's someone within range. They can have Pestilence now. And the Pestilence just bounces around people like that. And there was one point I'd lit this one guy up and it just bounced from person to person to person. And we got to the point where as they were spawning out, they were instantly getting Pestilence, dying. The next person was getting Pestilence, dying. They weren't even getting out of their spawn door. We were just like, this is jokes right now. It's nice. So stupid. But yeah, so a lot of fun with that. And that's been really where I've been at with gaming. I mean, like I say, dabbled in Halo Infinite, really like what I've played. But I think it might have been you, Al, said in our group chat at one point that the open world has kind of got in the way a little bit. Now, that's not to say I dislike the open world, and I don't think it's a brilliant thing, but it is definitely getting in the way of my progression through the campaign, because what happens is I get into the open world and start doing things just randomly because I was driving around and there's some Covenant. I'm like, I'll go over here and shoot some more Covenant, and I'll go over here and shoot some more Covenant. And then I'm like, I haven't progressed anywhere, but I've killed things, and then I have to try and get to the mission, and I think that's my only gripe is it's getting in the way of me doing missions. And I kind of like Halo to just be like punch, 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 punch. But in every gameplay metric of Halo Infinite, I absolutely love the gunplay. I absolutely love the way it feels. The whole game feels brilliant to me. Yeah. Other than I'm not sure about the open world. That's not to say the open world is bad.
With the open world, see, it's something I've mentioned a few times as to because a couple of people have said the same sort of thing. I know, like she said, Alan has said, Phil had said a bit as well. Yeah. That it's strange because that open world is almost like it's a level itself.
Yeah.
Because kind of you go to the next actual mission if you follow the mission. Because I went around, did a few bits, and I was like, no, I want to do a proper mission. So I went off to the next mission objective, and I think the next mission was about, I don't know, 2 hours long, something like that. And that led on to another mission. And it was back into just like playing normal Halo 1. And there's a couple of instances you can go back into the open world and do stuff. But once you kind of go past that, you're just playing through the game like a standard Halo game. And then you can go back into the open world at the end to kind of, mop stuff up.
This is the thing, I don't dislike it. I like you. I know what he said, but I feel it's just kind of, I don't know what it is. It's kind of getting in my way a little bit. And I'm not, that's not to say, I don't read that as me saying Halo Infinite bad. Halo Infinite's brilliant. And like, I just completed the mission where you go to the conservatory, is it? I'm still, I don't know how far I am in the campaign, but I've done the conservatory. And I love some of the dialogue that's going on, especially with the chief, where they're like, I think the AI says to him, who was that? And he's like, new, dangerous. And like, what about the other guy? New, possibly dangerous. And he's got loads of great little one-liners. And I'm like, I really like what they've done with the chief. It's the character feels legit. It's like you just said, it feels like old Halo. It feels like Halo 1. And I really, really like that. Like, I never disliked the Halo game in terms of how they played. I think there were better Halo games than others. This is really back to form, really great. Graphically, it's beautiful. I love the open world until they put the HVTs in it, things like that. There's lots to do, and it's fun. There are definitely some, I wish they'd done this and I wish they'd done that, but I don't want that to sound like I'm being negative towards Infinite. Everything I've played about it, I like. It's just, I'm at a funny place with it. Not that it's bad.
I don't want to be negative about it. I just struggle. I don't want it to be open world. I've said this before, and I know what you said, Craig. At the end of the day, I play it, and I just want to have those amazing moments when you get dropped on the beach or in the cartographer mission. I just want to feel
loads of them in it. There's loads
I just got lost in the open world. But what I do have to say is what I have been playing with Halo is with you and my son Alex. We've started Monday Night Halo, haven't we, on the multiplayer? Yeah. And I have to say, despite some initial hiccups with with certain game modes not being included, such as free for all and stuff like that, which are now there. I mean, we've been having some great fun, haven't we? The past couple of weeks we've been playing together, and when it all gels, when you've got a 4-man team or a 3-man team, and you're just playing, it's sublime as far as a free play shooter, and it's Halo with all the nuances that make it Halo.
Yeah,
the multiplayer is just.
I've got to say, I've had fun with the multiplayer, even when I'm getting absolutely savaged. The other team are walking away with
regular
it.
for us.
I mean, we live.
I'm 100% with you on that. I'm like, oh look, we're losing again. We were on for a mate's birthday. We all got on and played Infinite for a mate's birthday. There were 10 of us. We were playing a big team battle, and also some buggy stuff with big team battle matchmaking and stuff. We got into battles and we won a few. We won a few pretty convincingly, and we lost quite a lot. And you know what? We had fun either way. Sometimes it was the silliest things that happen. You drive the thing off and there's one map, which I can't remember which map it is. How many times have you taken a warthog straight down the middle of the map, forget to turn, go straight down that hole before you get to the other base?
I don't know what the map is, but it's the one where there was a brilliant moment last week, where you and I were in the Warthog, weren't we, Craig? And some guy hijacked it and immediately drove us straight off the edge of the map. It was a sublime move, and we were both sitting there going, "That was awesome."
We were all in it. We were all in it. All three of us were in it. I was driving. He pulled me out and drove you two off the cliff. I heard you and Alex screaming as you went.
And we were just laughing because it was a genius play. He killed both of us, and it was just awesome.
Yeah, it's there's so many good things about Halo. So be really clear. I know I sound a bit negative on Halo. I absolutely love Infinite, and I think it's a real return to form for the series. Not that I ever thought the series was bad, but it's finally delivering Halo in the way that Halo is talked about in that
it's more of a return to tradition, isn't it? It's a return to tradition.
And what's beautiful about it is, you're right, it feels like old school Halo, it's like a traditional Halo, but it feels modern and dynamic, and they've done the right improvements to make Halo feel good.
Is a big part to that. The
grappling hook's a great move.
Yeah,
but there's so much. I love the way they've designed boss encounters as well. After having probably the worst boss encounter design in any game ever in Halo 5, which was just here's the same boss 27,000 times. And it was the point where I was like, oh my god, it's the Warden Eternal again. Cool. Oh, I'm gonna.
I wonder what we do with him this time.
Now there's 4 of them. Oh, now there's 4 of them. Oh, cool. Oh, wicked. That was such the boss. The Halo 5 was ruined by those boss fights, no question, right? But this, the bosses are fresh, they're interesting, they've got a cool mechanic about them. I mean, some of them are just brutal. It was just okay, but I'm really enjoying it. I really like it. So there you go. That's my thing. I've said enough. Let's go talk to somebody else.
Mr. Philbo Baggins.
Least but last. I mean, not least but last. Sorry, mate. My bad.
You've been sitting there waiting.
That was
patiently.
Least and last, I think you mean.
I'm really surprised Phil didn't just reach across and turn off his webcam and leave, to be quite honest at that point.
So it's okay. I've got magic juice to keep me happy.
Hey,
apple juice.
Nice,
of course.
Go on,
technically is apple juice, right?
It is, yeah.
Yes. It's just got
something you've been playing and something you've watched that's been
something
good.
I've been playing, something I've watched. Let's go with something I've watched first. So I've watched a lot of things actually because I just had some time over Christmas. So I'm going to pick one. I'm going to pick one, and it's not.
It's Arcane, isn't it?
I have, but it's not. No,
Arcane was so good. Sorry, Phil, but Arcane was so good. Carry on.
It is really good. I wasn't going to talk about that because that wasn't my pick, but oh god, that's good. If you haven't watched Arcane, just watch it.
I have to say, I agree. And we know we're not the anime guy. I will say this. I'm not going to drag on it. That last sequence with the music and that animation. I know Craig hasn't seen it. That last sequence is. I mean, I got to say, some of the group chat was that I thought it was going to be better as a whole series. I'm not saying it's bad. It's brilliant. Watch it. But that last sequence was literally perfect. I cannot get over how beautiful that last sequence was.
I can't believe how
my group chat is going, watch it, guys. And I'm like, whenever somebody tells me to watch something, I'm like, I'm not watching it. I'm not a sheep. I'm not watching it. I was like, all right, he's been going. Yeah, exactly. I'm not going to do it. And then eventually I watched it. I was like, why have I not watched this sooner? This is so freaking good.
Because you're so anti-authority, Alan. That's the problem.
I am.
Somebody tells you to do something.
I'm a rebel. What can I say?
It's a nightmare when you try and go hold and they say, "Step through the metal detector, sir." No. You need to step. No, I'm going to ride on the conveyor belt and get an X-ray instead.
Yeah.
Right, go on, Phil. Go on, Phil. Stop interrupting the poor man.
The one I was going to choose, actually, the TV series I was going to choose is season 2 of The Witcher.
Oh, good shout! Yes,
I think now the reason I picked this is because I didn't enjoy season 1 of The Witcher as much. I wasn't a fan of them jumping around with the time changes and having to figure out whether they burnt down Sintra or not, and having to check out his armor. Whereas this, it was all nice and concise and clear, and it followed. And it was so good.
That's
so
what I love to hear when you're talking about a series. It's so nice and
concise and clear, and the story was clean, and I loved it. I loved the progression of Ciri and the training side of it, and it lined up very nicely with very early on in the game, The Witcher 3, when you see some of the flashbacks of her. Highly recommend watching.
And I will say the effects work in season 2 blows season 1 out of the water.
Oh wow! Almost definitely.
It looks
I'm afraid to say that I am definitely a minority, and I've had this conversation with Craig. I'm very much in a minority because having read some of the books, I absolutely applaud the first season. Don't get me wrong, there are issues. The problem being that both Geralt and Yennefer do not age, so it is difficult to tell when you're going from one time period to another. I get that, but I kind of got it. I didn't kind of get lost. I kind of like, right, we're there. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's happening. And when it got to like the sixth or seventh episode where they actually revealed that he was locked up, I was like, oh, okay, I get it. And I liked that. I very much enjoyed that. And I'm more of a fan of the first series than I am of the second series. I didn't like the fact that the second series was just like series by numbers. It's just this episode, next episode. I liked the jumping back and forth in the first one, but I realise I'm in a minority on this one. Back to you, Phil.
Anti-authority Alan strikes again.
I'm my own man.
That you are. I really enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I like the fact it was in line. I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to keep going.
Okay.
So I'm going to talk about games. I'm going to talk about 2 games.
So you talk about one game.
No,
you only get one.
But it's only going to be
right. So my turn.
A reference.
Come on, Phil.
I just want to say, firstly, I purchased the director's cut of Death Stranding, and I played through that quite recently. And I sort of played a bit of the original on the PS4, but I got stuck within the game, and I didn't progress very far, and I sort of left it, and I'd always intended to go back. And then the PS5 upgrade and the director's cut came out. I was like, you know what's on offer? I'm going to buy it. Oh my God. That guy is nuts. Kojima, it's 100% Kojima. Like, I played through the game and it's a walking simulator. And then he just keeps adding stuff. It's like, you're building the roads and then you join it. And then you get your Jeep and you can drive down the roads and the battery doesn't run out. And then he takes you into a mountain where you can't drive anything. So you get yourself a little exosuit and then you walk up there and you get a little dude with legs that follows you around to load your parcels on. And then he takes you up to a mountain where you then fall over in the snow. Just it keeps adding, and then
I'm so sold right now. I've always said Kojima can kiss my ass, and I'm so not interested in anything he ever makes. But after that speech, Phil, I'm sold. I mean, I want to play this game right now.
I don't know how to describe this game. Like,
you can't
on the face
sell
of it. It's a walking simulator.
It's a walking simulator.
It's a sort of, but it's not. It's so much more.
Let me back Phil up here. Because I'm not a big Kojima fan at all. I mean, I like his games. In spite of Kojima being involved in, like the mechanics of games, he's very good at. But it's the stories that I absolutely detest.
They're bonkers. They're bonkers.
Convoluted messes. He fancies himself as this amazing director and cinematographer, and it just ruins his games for me. But Death Stranding is, in terms of the story-wise, is much, much better because I think he's got a really good kind of a decent acting cast in it.
He's got, and it's a very Western acting cast as well.
It is, yeah. Norman Reedus. He's got
Matt Mikkelsen.
Mads Mikkelsen, yeah. And I've completely forgot the name of the girl out of the Bond films.
I know who you mean.
Anyway, yeah. So she's in it as well. But they're all really, really fantastic. They're very, really good, and it makes it a lot better. But the main thing of the game, it looks visually stunning. The mechanics and the way that it layers systems upon systems upon systems is really, really clever. And it is really good fun game to play. You can't you can't sell it to someone by explaining it to them. I don't.
You
think.
have to.
You
have to play it. You have to play it because you
Yeah.
sit there and think it's a walking simulator, and then you start looking at it. You start trying to plan out your route just to go from A to B, and it's not just simple as I'm just going to load up my pass and run off. And then you start putting in the encounters with the BTs, the bad guys, and you like initially you can't really see them very well, and they're just almost like shadows. And then you start, and then you'll hold your breath from it, and then you'll see it, and then you have to start trying to plan your route around the enemies to get through.
And it's
what you're saying is, it's orientation simulator as well. So orienteering,
yeah. But I have to say, one of the things you can't not level against Kojima is the fact that he is pushing the boundaries of what games do, and I think the interactivity between players, and as you create that instance, so to speak, by creating bridges and creating roads, is really innovative and something that we may see in future incarnations of games. But I can't help feeling that sometimes he's kind of like he's like a kid in a toy shop. He doesn't stop to think whether he should. He's like, oh, I can do this. Let's put that in. You can actually put testicles in a game. Let's put those in. And if you look at them, Normus goes, what are you looking at? Oh, this is so much fun. I'm such a funny guy. You know,
I love it. All of the scope of the game, and the first thing he goes to is the fact that you can look at Norman Reedus' test.
But the point is that I do agree with the fact that he is pushing the boundaries of the gaming genre, and he's trying different things, and I applaud him for that. It may not appeal to me, but the game industry wouldn't be what it is if there weren't these innovators and people that push certain mechanics or different things and try different things. And let's be honest, if there's something Kojima does, he tries different things.
Didn't Kojima do Silent Hill? Wasn't he Silent Hill? Was it him?
He did.
No, that was another guy.
It was still Konami, but
I can remember.
But it wasn't.
He was doing he did the PT. Playable.
That's
teaser,
it.
because that corridor thing, and that was scary as all hell. That was.
Yeah, I mean, because that
was a disappointment that never got made. I would have.
Well, I think this is the thing where, like you say, coming back to that thing about he's willing to try stuff. It's like it's not just willing to try stuff. He's willing to really look at what makes something work in the way it does and go, right, how can I take that and use that to my advantage? It's like I always say, like some of the great like top moments in storytelling or filmmaking is when that plays with your expectations of how it should work. And one of my favorite examples is Bioshock, right? I'll never forget like that first time at the end with Bioshock with the "Would you kindly." Now when that happened,
it's
the first
long
time,
enough. Don't worry about that spoiler.
I know, but even still, you don't need to drop the spoiler. But the "Would you kindly" moment, right? You realise that at that point, like the way they've used the storytelling implement of the "Would you kindly" is that they've asked you to do it every time, and you think you're just doing like what the guy wants because that's the thing, and then you realise that the whole way through you've had no choice, because if you want to get to that point in time, the only choice you've had is to do exactly what he asks, which plays and it's that brilliant moment of taking the trope of that storytelling thing and the linear story and just using that to just slap you around the face as hard as you can.
It's the usual suspects moment, isn't it? It's like, oh my god, no.
Or the end of the first Saw movie where he just at the end of the first Saw movie, I was like,
So before we move on from that and from Phil, there's So Patrick's actually asked if there's anything similar on Xbox to. I'm assuming you mean to Death Stranding. There is nothing similar to Death Stranding. That is the kind of point of it.
Yeah, nothing will ever be similar to that. I can confirm, in true Kojima-ness, though, it starts off as that walking simulator laser, and then he gets to about halfway through, and then the story picks up pace. And it sort of drip feeds it quite a lot at the start. And by the time you get halfway, it's just proper hammers the story home. And it culminates in a true Kojima ending. He held out right till the end, and then he dropped the fucking movie at the end. And I kid you not, I got to the end of the game and I beat the final boss and I was like, brilliant, I've done it. And then the credits dropped and then he took me into another gameplay and then he did another credit scene and then he took me to another bit. There was
Don't worry, Craig will go back during the edit and he'll take the F straight out. Don't worry, we're not live. It's all right.
Yeah.
What I was going to say, and nearly I would have saved you there, Phil, but but unfortunately you kept going. Was it's a game where, as you say, you can't explain it to someone. I keep looking at it, going, I don't know why, and it's not my type of thing at all. But I don't know why. But I just want to try it.
I promise you, if you try it, it will be experience something you've never experienced before in a game. And whether you play it for 10 minutes or 60 hours, in my case, you will get something out of it. And you'll get to the end and you think, you know what? Kojima is mad as a box of frogs. but I get it. I get what he's done, and nobody else has done that.
It sounds like a colonoscopy. Or was it a colonoscopy?
Colonoscopy.
Yeah, I mean, I guarantee, you might not like the initial thing, but eventually you will like it. Yeah,
You're right. When the tube goes in, it's terrible, but you're going to feel great tomorrow.
So we've actually just had something coming from the Real Pog Dog. Hello, Real Pog Dog. I think it's more him being fascinated with different things and quickly implementing them in games, which is a behaviour exhibited by both geniuses and idiots. What made the difference is whether or not the game is shit. That's a quality comment.
Isn't this like the sniper in Metal Gear 5 or whatever, who can only breathe through her skin, so she has to wear very minimal clothing? Good call there, Kojima. Nice moves.
I'll tell you what, that reference, that's a good example. So you've got Kojima and he does Metal Gear. And do you remember my beloved game, Left Alive? Also, looks like a Metal Gear game, like the menus, the text, the design, just the aesthetic. It's Metal Gear, but it's just bad.
That's the question. Kojima, genius or idiot? I think a little bit of both.
But it's like Kojima on one side, where the genius has worked, and you've got something new and innovative, and everyone will get something right, and you've got somebody who took the same recipe, who is a moron, and they made a 2 out of 10 game.
Well, let's before we move on from this game, Phil, you have to make a confession here. How many times have you bought that god awful game?
Which one? Left Alive? Twice.
Yeah. He's bought it twice, and he hates it, and he still bought it twice.
I bought it once to play it on PC, and I bought it again because I wanted the metal steel case for display purposes. It's very nice.
Why?
But, no.
Why?
I bought because the steel case is really cool. It's got this awesome robot on the front of it. It looks proper cool, like kind of a mix between Gundam and something much more Metal Gear Race. It looks really cool, and the game came free with the steel case. That's what I'm telling people. The game came free.
And there's a little, just to put that little comment there from Patrick as well. For Phil's sake, there goes the PG-13. Let's call back to early episodes.
There for your foul language. Phil.
Yeah. Apologise, Phil. Apologise for being a bad man using naughty words.
I'm very sorry.
And as I said early on, we're not going to go on a long one on this because it would take about an hour. We are now 41 minutes in from that little.
And I believe at the time I said I thought you were being delusional because I know what we are like.
Yeah, we've waffled.
Do you remember that one time when I hosted and I said I rule with an iron fist, and then Alan and Ratley rebelled, and we spent 5 minutes talking about it?
Didn't you say I rule with an iron fist, and we just went, that's what you think, mate?
Yeah, I don't think so, mate.
I dropped the hammer. It didn't work. The hammer bounced off and flew
we just
out.
carried on talking
I gave up
for another 40 minutes.
Yeah.
What about you, Craig? What have you been watching and what have you been playing?
In a very concise 18 minutes and 40 seconds.
Yeah.
To take us up to an hour.
Sorry, Craig, we're out of time. Move on to the news.
And more next week. So first thing I want to talk about is not a new game. It's an old game. Okay, but it's one that's had recent new expansion that I decided to pick up. Okay, and it's a game called Warframe. So, yes, me and Phil have both been playing this. Now, Warframe is a bit of a strange entity, really, because it's a free-to-play game. It's like I said, it's been around for a really long time, but it has been it's grown and it's been iterated on. It's been improved, and the graphics have been improved, and they've just dropped a brand new. I think it's like a 6-hour campaign that's actually free, included just with the free-to-play game. Now, if you're a fan of
free-to-play game, has extracted about £35 out of you and just over 50 out of me.
Yes,
for a free-to-play game. So, if you ever want to know how to make a free-to-play game as a game developer, check out Warframe.
Yeah. It is the game is it's the strangest thing. I mean, if you're a fan of things like Destiny or The Division, Chris, anything like that, it is like a looter shooter, but it's not a looter shooter. It's third person, and it's a kind of looter shooter, but also melee as well, because melee combat is a big part of it. You're effectively like a space.
I think you'll find that's melee.
A melee. So it's an absolutely phenomenal game. Now, there's a badger. So early on, it's you've got some of the older content. It's quite linear, quite basic. It's very, very light on the story. But myself and Phil have been playing through it like nudging through piece by piece through varying different bits of new content. And I reckon probably about 50 or so hours into it, we started a particular part of the mission called, was it a Stolen Dream or something like that? Or
yes, when we started learning about our operator.
Yeah, so it basically had just this most amazing 2 story chunks but you have to play the game for 50, 60, 70 hours to even get to it. It's absolutely insane that they've locked such a fantastic game, such a fantastic campaign and quest mission so deep into a game that most people will never see.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of added about, I think, 4 years into the game's life cycle, and that's why, rather than going back, so a lot of games you see go back and redo the start of the game. Games like Terror, for example, Final Fantasy 14 just wrote the game off and started again, and they go back and Warframe were like, yeah, that stuff works. We'll just start from here.
Yeah.
So madness, but brilliant.
I don't know.
But isn't this what everyone wanted Destiny to do?
What did Skill Up say about?
Skill Up said he said this game was this particular mission in this area was their master stroke. So it was like the greatest quest that you'll probably never get to play because it's so deep into the game. I mean, Skill Up's a pretty hard guy to please usually, and he was. I mean, this is about 4 years old. This video that I watched, but it was, he was absolutely raving about how good it was.
He did not like Rainbow Six Extraction.
He did not like that. Yeah, that's how bland it was. But so it was. So actually, but like I say, we've been playing through it. We've got to a point where we're ready to kind of do the next mission. The reason we put this game on was to get to this new content because it looked really cool. This new war content, and it was like the culmination of the whole 9 or 10 years the game's been out. We still haven't even got to it yet. So we're literally.
I downloaded it. But unfortunately, I'm too busy fighting zombies, so I can't join you just yet.
Well, the problem is Warframe went straight into the Old Republic, so we also still haven't got there.
Yeah, there is that. Yeah.
The problem with Warframe is we got in there and we found this really cool bit, and then we realised that you could do railjack, and that was really cool. And then we went down there, and then realised there's something else of it. And honestly, it was like being a catcher. Oh, we can do that. We can do that. We can do that. Yeah. And then Sherman turned up and went, look how badass I am. We're like, we need to get like that.
Yeah. That's Phil's friend who's played it for about 130 days, so he's pretty good at it. But railjack is a great thing to talk about. That is effectively, it's a ship that you can have 4 people in. One person will fly it, another person mans the guns, another person will do all the repairs and fend off people like boarding parties and things, and somebody will eject out of the side of the ship and fly on a jetpack into the enemy ship to blow the core up before you get blown up yourself. It's just absolutely crazy.
I think it's another great example of one of these great mechanics of a free-to-play game that's done really, really well. The other one was what we talked about before, was Path of Exile, where you've got the alphas who spend an absolute fortune on all the cosmetics and everything else. But if you don't want to spend that kind of money, you can just go in and play the game, and you don't have to spend a single penny. The game is all there. It's almost being paid for. It's like the opposite of taxes. It's almost being paid for by the richer people.
Yeah.
That's it.
I mean,
that's right.
The interesting thing with Warframe, which particularly Sherman, our good 130 hours in friend, is he's reached a point in the game now where he can earn the paid in-game currency by playing the game. So he, again, has probably invested about 70, 80 pounds over his 130 days. But he's at the point now where he never has to spend any money in that game because he's actively earning the premium currency called Platinum in the game. It's not particularly expensive, and Xbox always do discounts on it and bundles and give you freebies. But he just goes in and he does his bits and he grinds it and he sells his stuff to other players and they spend their platinum. And, he's like, yeah, I'm sitting good on platinum. He had like about 100 quid's worth of platinum last time I spoke to him, I think, that he just earned from playing the game and trading with other players.
I think Warframe is a game where I've always looked at it and gone, I like the look of that, but I'm just worried it's going to be a bit like, starting a heroin addiction in the, I'll start it and I'll never be able to quit it, and it'll take over my life, and I'll be like, I'll just be that guy going, you can't really change, you need to play.
All that nice stuff behind you, Bradley, will have gone. It'll be some alley somewhere with a dumpster behind you.
Yeah, I'll sell this to afford more platinum, and that. I just need some more platinum.
You are a man who should not play this game.
I just need that new helmet. I just need the new helmet. I just need it.
He'll get to that point when he's chilled himself out and he's got no money left, and then he'll open up his store in Mayroon's Bazaar and he'll go, look at all my stuff.
Yeah.
And then he'll be platinum flush again.
Come view my wares.
Yeah. Just a reference, you can't then trade your platinum back into real money, so probably for the best.
So I'll just move now just quickly on to what I've been watching, and this is, again, it's another old take. Okay, so many, many years ago, I tried to watch the Clone Wars series. Okay, and watched, I think I got nearly through the first season, and I just gave up. Because I thought, I was watching it, it was very... It was done very much aimed for kids. It was very, very basic, and I thought to myself, I'm just not enjoying it. I'm just.
I think
watching
it's why I
because
liked
Star
it.
Wars. Oh, okay. Well, yeah. I mean, the first year I just didn't get on with it. So bring us a few years later and having a conversation with Phil, and Phil said, "No, you should definitely get into it. You should try it from season 4 onwards, because that was around about the time where they started to realise, apparently from what Phil was saying, that they started to realise that a lot of the demographic watching the Clone Wars wasn't necessarily kids; it was just Star Wars fans. So they started to make
people like me, you, Ratley were the people that were watching it, and then they had, was it Dave Filoni again, was a lot more involved in the direction of the game as well, and you just see this absolute tone shift.
Yeah. So obviously, as always happens when a new Star Wars movie or show comes out, I go on a bit of a Star Wars kick. So I'm watching the Book of Boba Fett, obviously, as we all are. Really enjoying that. And I thought, I need to go back through and start watching the movies again. So I watched episode 1, watched episode 2, so see the whole thing with Jango Fett and Boba Fett, when he was younger. And I thought, I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to jump in season 4 of the Clone Wars. And I'm now on episode 19 of season 4. And I'm absolutely loving it. I'm really, really pleased that I went back in and that I took that advice of Phil to go in at the point that I did, because they've created they're almost small stories over 3 episode arcs. So there's one, I've just watched the one where Obi-Wan Kenobi goes in disguise and goes undercover. I just watched one where I just...
What you mean, like where he goes to Tatooine and completely changes his name?
Yeah, that's it, to Ben Kenobi. You never know who that was.
Genius.
No comment.
Yeah. So I'm watching through that at the moment, and I'm absolutely loving it. So again, I guess
it only gets better. There's so many more of those little story arcs. There's
what I'm
more
hoping,
stuff on Death Watch and about the Mandalorian culture.
You
all
learn
that stuff
about that. Yeah.
It all feeds in, and I guarantee you'll end up watching all that, and you'll be like, I need to watch the Bounty Hunter again. I need to watch the Mandalorian again, because now I understand so much more. You start learning all the lore behind the Darksaber, and you'd be like,
just
you suddenly understand the weight of that scene when he comes in carrying the Darksaber and the
hand
guy,
it over.
And Bo-Katan's like, I can't take that off you, and you don't get it unless you understand the history behind the Darksaber.
Although there is a little bit of there's a point where she literally takes it off somebody else, isn't there? But we don't talk about that.
Let's not talk about that. But you'll get to that point, you'll love it. And then another one that I keep referencing is you find out loads more about Darth Maul and why you see him sat at the end of Solo, effectively as the head of the Eclipse Cartel, and they go through like the backstory of what happened to him from effectively getting cut in half and falling down a shaft.
Really good stuff.
Much.
It is expanding my Star Wars knowledge more than I thought it would, which is really good. And on just a slight side note, because I mentioned about Book of Boba Fett, that what's the chances? I think potentially that we might see something with Darth Maul introduced into the Book of Boba Fett, the whole kind of crime lord type thing. Maybe we might see something there. That would be pretty cool. Sorry, what did you say, Thunderlips?
I said it's time to get that Lego Millennium Falcon, isn't it? And,
My wife would leave me if I spent 650 quid on a Millennium Falcon.
No comment. Oh wait, I haven't got a wife. That's why.
No, you're right.
All right. Yes, okay.
You did, but you just didn't talk about it, and now you bought the Millennium Falcon. And
Yeah, Craig, don't you have that like dark siphoning bank account where you put some money in there to buy stuff?
Are you trying to get me in trouble because my son's watching? Is that what you're doing?
A little bit, yeah. And just in case Sherman's listening to this, Sherman has a secret bank account he funnels money into to buy video games. And you don't know about it.
That's how really stable marriages work.
Yeah.
Secret bank accounts.
Yeah, nice. Right, we're getting a bit off topic here, so I think I'm going to wind this up. It's not like us to go off topic, is it, at all?
No, not at all.
Yeah, we are going to move into the meat and potatoes of the episode. I think
is there something to talk about?
There is something.
We'll be done.
I mean, we are a little bit behind probably the rest of YouTube and the social media spheres. But a little thing happened between Microsoft and Activision Blizzard, and I think that was on Monday. Which is a bit of a shocker, really. But I mean, Microsoft have acquired them for a tiny little sum of $68.7 billion.
I believe what Phil said was, "You're my bitch now."
Yeah, something like that possibly. I reckon you're a fly on the wall at the meeting. I reckon that's exactly.
I was there. Yeah.
So
right after he slapped the check down on the desk and then just slid it across. Yeah.
Oh, maybe that's how the movie rights will go on that one. So Phil Spencer, obviously the new Microsoft CEO of gaming, as he's got himself a nice flashy new title now, which is lovely. He announced on Monday that Activision Blizzard companies will report to him after that deal is closed. And it's expected to complete fiscal year of 2023, so which ends in June of 2023. So it's going to take a little while to go through because obviously $70 billion. I reckon there's probably quite a few I's to dot and T's to cross probably. So that's when we're probably looking, a bit of time to go before we see it. On a separate announcement, they also mention about the acquisition that it's not only about adding those new studios and new games into the massive roster that they've already got now at Microsoft with however many 30 odd studios they've got now, but it's also about building the company's foundation for the metaverse going forward, which is a bit of a buzzword that we're starting to see from your likes of your Facebooks and your Googles popping up everywhere. So Microsoft are looking at it from a pretty sort of long-term standpoint, hence I think the large price tag they paid. I kind of wanted to put the deal into context a little bit for people who are watching, because I know you guys obviously know all about it and what's been going on, but just to have some of the names that is obviously we're going to be dealing with within this deal. You've got your likes of your Call of Duty, you've got your World of Warcraft, you've got Diablo,
it's
Tony
just
Hawk's,
ridiculous,
Overwatch, StarCraft, Crash Bandicoot and Spyro, and a bit of an odd one, but Candy Crush. Obviously, not really ever likely to be an Xbox game. Well, I suppose it could be, but that is a hell of a cash cow. So it's a lot going on with that really. And I think initially I'm going to go to Chris first with a bit of a question, and we can all kind of like bounce off this one. So I mean, I guess just how much of a big deal is this? Yeah, how much of a big deal is it?
It's not.
It's not a big deal.
Nah, mate.
So glad when she first.
We're done. Everybody.
I don't even know why we're here. Why are we talking about this?
Thank you very much for that, ladies and gentlemen.
Nothing in this article. I mean, how big of a deal is it? Well, it significantly bumps Microsoft's profile within gaming. Let's not kid ourselves. I mean, they weren't exactly a small potato as it stood, but they've gone from I think it was like 4th place or 5th place now to like 3rd biggest game publisher, and I can see that only going. Sorry, just in that comment.
Lovely conspiracy of secrets within the Larter family.
Good news, Ryan.
Sorry, Chris.
Should be able to get some
stuff.
No. I thoroughly approve of the won't tell mum. Good lad. I mean, it is a massive deal. I mean, Microsoft taking ownership of some of these IPs, let's not kid ourselves. This is a big deal. I mean, there are so many other IPs which you didn't mention as well that Activision have, and it's it's great. There are so many layers to this as to why it's a big deal. Not even just from the games point of view. I mean, like from the bringing together studios and the way that certain studios will be run from now on, I'm sure will be very different. And we've talked at length on the pod about that stuff. So, in previous episodes. So, I mean, just the whole thing is a big deal for gaming as a whole. It's going to upset some people, and it's definitely put the cat well and truly amongst the pigeons. I mean, it's like, so it wasn't just like throwing a house cat into Leicester Square so much as it was Trafalgar Square. It was more like walking down there with like 2 caged tigers and just letting them rip in the middle of Trafalgar Square and go, cats are amongst the pigeons, boys. I mean, look at StarCraft is huge, right? A license for money. World of Warcraft, license for money. Candy Crush. Well, it's just money, And Call of Duty, whilst it is on a bit of a downward trend at the minute, is still, let's not...
You say downward trend, but Vanguard, and I can't even remember what last year's are, they are still the best-selling games of last year and 2020, despite not being as well received as previous versions. They're still the best-selling games.
I think it's on a downward trend for Call of Duty, which is still miles above everything else, right? It's like, oh no, we only sold 27 million copies of it instead of 28 million.
It was a slow year.
So it's like, I mean, they sold lots more than that, let's face it. But, there's that point of like, maybe it isn't at its peak right now, but I think there's going to be a lot of talks about how they restore these franchises, what they do with them.
I say that. Sorry, I just want to break in there. I think there's one reason why as well Call of Duty isn't quite as making the numbers as it used to, and Warzone is very big impact on that, which is the free-to-play Call of Duty. And a lot of hardcore players are going into that kind of area with Warzone so that is going to cause a bit of a drop-off on things like Vanguard. Why would you pay $60, $80, whatever you're paying, depending on where you are, for a game where you're already playing the multiplayer that you want to play on Warzone, which is free to play?
Well,
so I think there
also
are different things playing into that numbers for Call of Duty.
I mean, think as well, if along the same vein as that, if you take it as a lot of children, for example, younger children play things like Call of Duty. Well, actually, if you got Warzone, you suddenly don't need to ask for Call of Duty Vanguard for your Christmas or your birthday present. You can ask for that other game you want, and you can still play Warzone with your friends. And I think maybe that's another.
I think there is a huge, there's a huge, like you say, there's that Call of Duty piece definitely plays into it. But let's not forget, going free to play doesn't hurt. Like Warframe, as we were talking about earlier, Candy Crush is a free to play game, and I know it's a mobile game, and I know it isn't hardcore. But let's look at Candy Crush and how much money does Candy Crush make? It is insane. At one point, it was the highest grossing title in the world.
Every single mother in the UK, single mother has that on their phone. I guarantee it.
and it's amazing how people play Candy Crush so casually and are fine with just dropping a couple of quid here and there. And that's what Candy Crush does so well, right? Yeah. And Microsoft have just got a license to print money there. I mean, I'm sure there are so many things we'll never know about where Microsoft went, is this worth 70 billion? Or 68.9 or whatever it was, we'll just say 70 for a nice big round number. Yeah. And there is some serious, it's the IP power. So going back, one of my first things we said when you rang me up, and I swore a lot initially when you told me the news. I was in the car at the time.
That was funny when I put a post up when it literally about 7 minutes after it had got announced. I put a post in the group, and Ratley hadn't commented. I thought, I bet he's driving. So I phoned him. Have you heard the news? He went, what's that? I said, Microsoft have bought Activision Blizzard.
there was a lot of words that would really do away with the PG-13 rating that Phil's already ruined. But honestly, there was so much. I was like, and like I said, there's so much. But I said, one of my first things I had to Craig, I was like, maybe I'll finally get a new Guitar Hero game now, Yeah. And so there's loads of IPs to pull from as well. So super excited for this. It's a huge deal. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. Sony's first response shows you how much of a big deal it was when Sony's first response wasn't anything other than we expect Microsoft to honor their contractual agreements when they buy Activision. They basically knew what Microsoft were, done in terms of how big it was a deal for the industry. They were like,
I think the Bethesda thing ties into that, doesn't it? Because they were very kind of close to themselves, and then right until they actually had the deal in the bag, and then they went, okay, these are all first party now. These are going to be exclusive from Bethesda, and obviously Sony are going to be extremely concerned. But I think the tweet this week from Phil Spencer really has kind of said, okay, guys, I mean, they really have got Sony by the balls in a sense, but it wouldn't serve them in any way whatsoever to take away Call of Duty from them and other IPs like that, because it would be detrimental to them at the end of the day. So therefore they are going, he's already said they're going to honour those contractual obligations as far as Call of Duty and perhaps other IPs with Sony. So I think that's really important. And again, it shows their dedication to the gaming industry.
I think we'll cover that in a minute, but I'm actually something I think I'm glad you brought up there actually is just mentioning about the Bethesda deal, because that was a bit of a follow-up to this question, and I'll push that to you, Alan, first, is that what in terms of the gaming, so not from a business standpoint, let's say, but from a game standpoint, what's the bigger deal? The acquisition of Activision Blizzard, or the acquisition of Bethesda? What do you think?
See, I think people are looking at it from the wrong angle, right? I think a lot of people are talking about exclusivity, and I think this is something that we've touched on before on previous conversations, especially with the Bethesda acquisition. And it's not necessarily about exclusivity; it's about Game Pass. If I have a choice between owning a PlayStation and paying $60 to $80 for a game, or owning an Xbox where I pay £15 a month. Actually, I don't. Phil does. Thanks, buddy. So basically, I pay nothing, and I get all of these IPs for nothing. because I don't even have to pay because of Game Share. I'm getting Diablo, I'm getting Call of Duty, I'm getting Candy Crush. I'm probably going to get all of these games for nothing on Game Pass because I share with Phil. That is immense. And it's the same.
That's a good £250 worth of game expenditure.
Ridiculous amount of IPs. Now, when I'm looking at Bethesda, I'm like, yeah, it's great that I'm getting exclusivity, but I'm all about the gaming. And just because I'm an Xbox fan does not mean I'm like, up yours, Sony PlayStation owners. I'm not like that. I think gaming should be about inclusivity. I want to see them enjoying games as much as we are, and I hate the exclusivity card. I really, really do. But as far as this acquisition and the acquisition from Bethesda, I think the big deal here is the fact that if you pay that £15 a month, even if they put it up to 20 or 30, to be honest, you are getting a
Don't give them ideas.
They're going to, let's be honest. At some point, they're going to raise that price. But let's be honest, you are still getting an astonishing good deal with an immense amount of catalogue of games with this new acquisition, all the studios they had before. So I don't think, from my point of view, the exclusivity is the big deal. It's the fact that if you're a Game Pass subscriber, you get all the games included with it.
I think you're right, Al. I think it's something we talk about this a lot about Game Pass and how it brings so much to the table. Game Pass has now got to that point, and again, I know that it's not as perfect as having Call of Duty. I'm not saying Call of Duty. Let's not say that. Let's just say it's Starfield, because we know Starfield is going to be exclusive, right? So we know Starfield, when it launches, will be an Xbox system exclusive, where that and that means ecosystem exclusive. So you're able to get it on Game Pass or Xbox consoles or PC, right? We know this. We absolutely know this is
at least at launch, anyway,
right? Yeah, at least at launch. And I think I'd be surprised if it went anywhere else. But we know that. But that doesn't mean if you're a PlayStation gamer, you have to miss out. It means that if you've got any web-capable device, whether it be your phone, whether it be your PC, your Mac, your PlayStation, for God's sake, has a web browser that can do it, you can stream via xCloud or Xbox Cloud Gaming, whatever you want to call it, to that machine and still have it. All you have to do is pay an Xbox subscription. And this is the genius of Microsoft.
Because they're still getting those
look into the future. Look into the future. Go on.
It's also worth bearing in mind that Xbox don't make money on their consoles
either. Well, this is exactly what I was
making this exclusive it's not to sell, like Sony make profit on their consoles, particularly with
the self-subscriptions to Game Pass is all it is.
Particularly the PS5 revision, where they changed the heating and stuff, has now made them apparently cost positive.
Is it? I think recently, hasn't they just got 25 million subscribers? I believe is
they said 25 million.
Yeah, they've just touched that, and that is just going to keep going up and up and up and up.
But yeah, Phil made the point I was going to make with where I was going with mine was Microsoft are looking to the future when we all talk about how many boxes they sell, and we all I love my Series X. It's a brilliant box, and I love it under next to my TV. But the future isn't boxes under TV sets. The future is streaming services. And we all know this. Eventually, it's going to be, that's what it's going to be. And Microsoft are putting themselves in that position where in 5 to 10 years' time, they are so well positioned. Because, again, we talk about Microsoft making money. Microsoft make money at the moment from Azure. Cloud services is where Microsoft makes the bulk of its cash. Because Microsoft are so far ahead of that game. And they've positioned themselves in gaming to be the absolute forefront of cloud services. I mean, they might not be at this moment. It's going to be an arguable, debatable thing. But there's no question in my mind, in the console space in particular, there is nothing close to Microsoft's cloud offering, and their whole Game Pass package. And that's what Microsoft are bolstering here. They're not about selling more Xboxes. They're about bolstering that service proposition so that when you again, but also to Alan's point, if you go to buy a box, it's like, well, this one's got Game Pass and you get Call of Duty, you get Diablo, you get all this stuff, or you can buy the other box, which they'll cost you 80 quid a pop on, and it makes a massive difference.
I think
it's a no-brainer.
One of the big things with the whole Game Pass scenario, because obviously that's again, I agree with you, all of you, a big driver into why this acquisition's come about. It's a big part of it is bolstering that Game Pass library and all that kind of cloud proposition. Now, one thing with Xbox is they've generally, like, they've always been kind of the runner up with everything. Yeah, the 360 arguably, they got out early, so they kind of had a bit of a success story with that one because Sony messed up the PlayStation launch. But with Game Pass, this thing that they've launched and that they're running with has completely shook the industry. It is a complete game changer, and it's a real trailblazer. Do you know what I mean? So they're out ahead of it, out ahead of everyone else. Sony are planning to put their offer in. There'll be other companies that will try and do the same thing. So what they're doing is, for me, is they are kind of digging a trench around what they've got. So they're saying all of this stuff here, we are buying all this stuff up, it's going to be within our subscription service. So the other subscription services can't have it. So not necessarily that, you can't play this on this console or play this on this console. It is within our service, because they're seeing the future is it's all going to become service based, like Netflix, like Amazon Prime, like Disney Plus. It's going to be like that with games. And you'll get to a point where people will just stop buying games, but they'll just go, which subscription service am I going to get, because it's got that on. I really like that Sony exclusive. I'm going to get Sony's subscription model as well. It's the same as how a lot of us now have multiple TV streaming services. It's going to be the same market. That's the way that I think that's what they're doing. They are cornering off their little bit of the garden and saying, this is all ours. And we can do deals. If I can go, I want to be on the Sony platform. You can go onto your PlayStation 6 or whatever, or PlayStation 5 Pro, and you can download the Game Pass app, or you can have these games through a Game Pass subscription by Microsoft on the Sony console.
And quite frankly, nobody even comes close to Microsoft at the moment as far as their catalogue, the developers they have under their wing now. It's just they're so far ahead of the competition. Nobody can compete with that. It's just they are awesome.
Yeah, no, totally. So just on to the next point that I had just written down. I think, Phil, I wanted to say to you, okay, so there's obviously been a bit of a tweet coming out. There's a bit of a tweet been coming out. So let me just pop this up on here.
Has Phil been tweeting again, saying rude?
No, not this Phil. Different Phil.
Different Phil.
So I had a good call good calls this week with leaders at Sony. I confirmed our intent to honour all existing agreements upon acquisition of Activision Blizzard and our desire to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation. Sony is an important part of our industry, and we value the relationship. Hello around the side there, Alan. So, Mr. Phil, your namesake, he's come out with that. Do we think that mainline Call of Duties are going to become exclusive to the Xbox platform and Warzone is going to go across all of them? Or do we think that they're all going to stay cross-platform, or it's all going to go exclusive? What do we think?
There's one key word in that announcement, and it's that word existing. It doesn't say future. It says honour all existing agreements upon acquisition.
True.
So that means the current Call of Duty needs to stay on the console. That means Warzone needs to stay on the PlayStation. That doesn't mean whatever the next Call of Duty is. Sorry, do I need to? I don't know which way to lean. There we go. Here we go. Yeah, that doesn't mean whatever the next Call of Duty. That doesn't mean whatever the next Call of Duty has to go on there, and that applies to any other platforms out there.
Yeah, sorry, Phil.
No, I totally get that, and I think that at the same time, I don't think there's any need to actually restrict PlayStation owners from playing future Call of Duty games.
I don't.
As I said, I think from my point of view as a Game Pass subscriber, ultimate Game Pass subscriber, or Game Pass sharer, with the fact of the matter is the fact that I can just from this point onwards play Call of Duty without paying anything extra for a game I wouldn't normally play. Because I've the last one I bought was Modern Warfare and I enjoyed that, but generally I don't play it because I'm over 50 and I just can't move and react.
Don't have the reaction time
as a bunch of 13-year-olds. I just can't do it, and every game ends with me probably in tears or shouting at the screen. I don't need that level of stress. I had a heart attack last year, but I do enjoy the game sometimes because I've kind of moved past that zen. I'm now zen, and I just want to play and I just enjoy it. But I'm not going to pay £60 or £80 for a game that I'm just going to play for like a few days. On Game Pass, I'm going to play it. So
that's the key difference, I think, going forward.
Yeah.
They've said they will honour existing agreements. So, yes, they could turn around and make it exclusive. And, yes, they could do an app for the PlayStation. You can play it on your phone. It's in the Xbox ecosystem. Realistically, do I think that? No. I think they will put it on Game Pass and drive as many people to that subscription as possible. And I think the people that don't want to, will still have the option to pay 60, 70, 80 pounds. They can have it on their PS5. It can be in 4K, 120 frames a second, the best experience on the PlayStation.
They're still making the money.
Exactly.
They're still getting paid for it. It's still their company and their IP. What do they lose? It's one of those IPs that makes more sales on PlayStation than it does on Xbox. That's a fact. So by restricting PlayStation sales, they're cutting off a huge source of revenue to themselves.
But here's an interesting one on that. One of the reasons it sells more currently on PlayStation, I'm sure, is there's more PlayStations out there, right? Let's not kill ourselves. But B, they also have the exclusive content deals, right? At the moment, all the exclusive content is they get like a month, or a whole year on some modes, right? If we saw those exclusivities go around the next Call of Duty, let's say, right? We don't know what the existing arrangement might say. The next two Call of Duty, Sony still have existing things in place and they'll have to keep that, right? But we don't know that. So let's just spitball and pretend that the next title hasn't been signed off and we don't know what the deals are and there's no exclusivity at this moment in time. So you can imagine that it won't happen, right? Or when the deal closes, then the Call of Duty after that won't have that particular caveat, right? And then you say, well, you can have it on your PlayStation, but it's £80, right? $80 or 80 whatever, or whatever your currency you're using, €80 or whatever. Or you can have Xbox and it's part of your Xbox subscription. You start to get to the point where there isn't an exclusivity deal. You don't have the win for that. And then it's going to cost me another £80 to buy it over here where I could just have a monthly where I get all my other games included. Do you think it will start swinging the pendulum? And this is the big question, isn't it? Is it going to be enough to make people go, well, hold on, my PlayStation, it might be my preferred place to play, but is it the best place to play now? Is it going to start making that the Xbox a more preferred place to play? I don't know. It's an interesting place, right? Or maybe even PC Game Pass. Because face it, PC Game Pass is about to get a big shot in the arm with this as well. Call of Duty Warzone is going to be free on not free, included in Game Pass on PC, right? And that's a huge deal. So suddenly PlayStation are going to find their dominance in COD extremely challenged. I don't know. I don't know.
What's interesting here is it's the timing. So we are in the next generation of consoles, your Xbox Series X, your Series S, and your PS5. They are the next gen consoles. They are not readily available. It's still an absolute pain in the plums trying to get hold of a console. There's a lot of people out there that just don't have them. Now, this announcement, all of a sudden, all those existing PlayStation 4 customers, those Sony customers who are buying out, I'm talking about the people that they buy FIFA and they buy Call of Duty and they maybe buy GTA, and that's all they buy every year. They, at some point, will want to upgrade.
Hold on. I've got to correct you there. They do not buy GTA every year because there is no way.
Sorry.
I don't know. By the sales for GTA, I think they are buying it every year.
Sorry. They buy it every time it's re-released when they do an upgrade.
Which is every year.
And then a shark card because they need to get into the new heist, sorry. Those people that haven't been able to get hold of console, because they're not really that bothered right now. It's like, it's a new console, but it works on my PS4. But at some point, they want one when they're readily available. They're going to have that decision. They're the people when that conversation comes in. They're like, okay, brilliant, I get PS5. Oh, hang on a sec.
100%.
If I spend my money over there, I'm just going to get COD every year anyway. And actually, let's think about it. Game Pass includes EA Access at the moment as well. So that gets you all of your FIFAs rather than the current one. So all of a sudden, actually, 2 games that you potentially would spend £160 on or more, that's a hell of a chunk off the cost of the console right there if you're not going to have to buy them.
Yeah, I think it's a really strong move in terms of that. Like you say, like it's got that ability to make people just think twice about the thing they thought was a dead certain they were going to buy, right? I mean, I'm not saying that we're suddenly going to see people stop buying PlayStations overnight. It's not going to happen because the other problem is we're all plugged into the great gaming hive mind and we spend our days on Twitter checking out who's done what, etc. And most people, I've probably heard the news, but don't really get what that means for them.
Don't care.
Yeah, they don't care, and they will only care when it becomes a reality of like, well, this is the situation, or one of their friends says, well, I'm not buying a PlayStation anymore. I'm going to buy an Xbox because of Game Pass.
That kind of brings to mind. Can you just imagine what would happen if Microsoft went, you know what? We're making all these part IPs exclusive now. Up your PlayStation. That would be a massive impact on the industry and a massive impact on PlayStation. Because as you say, there's more units out there for PlayStation. All of a sudden, there's all these units. Let's be honest, the catalogue for PlayStation is not that great.
That's a bit harsh.
I'm sorry, but it's not compared to what they've now got available at Microsoft. The amount of IPs I'm sorry.
Going forward? You mean going forward?
Going forward.
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
Sorry, but it's not. There's no comparison. If
Well,
they took all of that away from them, Call of Duty, Diablo, all of those games that are no longer available on the PlayStation, that would have a massive impact.
I will say, I get where you're going with that, Al. I get where you're going with that, but I do have to say, I think Sony is still in a very strong position. They are still the second biggest publisher of games in the world, right? They are second biggest, and I think that they have a breadth of original IP that no one's going to stop buying PlayStations with the new God of War. The new Spider-Man game, things like that. Sony is still going to do well, but like Alan says, there is no way that someone can look at this and no longer say that they're happy with just a PlayStation, because there's going to be so much stuff, like Alan said, which has suddenly disappeared from their ability. Like Diablo is a big one, as he said just there. Diablo, we haven't even talked much about it. We talked about COD so much, but like Diablo 4 is coming, and if you can't get that anywhere but PC or Xbox, I mean, we don't know, right? That might not be the case. It might be on PlayStation, but if it happens and Diablo 4 is a Game Pass exclusive or Xbox PC, that would be massive for a lot of people. They'd be really peeved, and it would be a reason to move forward.
The thing with Sony is their exclusivity stable is very much like it's that third person gritty older experience. Like there's a certain demographic they've absolutely locked down with their God of Wars, with their Horizon Zero Dawns.
Last of Us
doesn't. Xbox doesn't quite have. Like we've got all of these studios, but because these studios haven't produced their content yet, we still don't have a direct competitor. So Sony is still in a really strong place at an early point in this new console lifespan, that those exclusives are driving PlayStation 5 sales. If enough PlayStation 5s are sold.
I think on that point, what I find quite interesting is, do you now know that two characters, Crash Bandicoot and Spyro, that are PlayStation mascots and IPs, now belong to Xbox?
Yeah.
I enjoy the irony of that.
Well, the other thing I was going to say,
what a world we live in.
But talking about stuff like that, right? What I'm going to find weird is, let's say they do continue to release COD and Diablo onto PlayStation, right? These PlayStation customers are going to fire up their PlayStation and they're going to present it with a screen that says Xbox Game Series or whatever it is, Xbox Gaming.
But they bought Minecraft, didn't they? They bought Minecraft, 2.5 billion. At the time, we thought that was a massive sale.
It was huge at the time.
And then the Bethesda thing happened, and that was 7 billion. And we were like, oh my god! And now it looks tiny compared to what they've done now. But they stuck by their guns, even when they released Minecraft Dungeons, which I didn't think was as good as it could have been, but hey,
a lot of fun though. A lot of fun.
Yeah, it's for kids. But the fact is, they still release that across all the platforms, including PlayStation. So when they say they're committed to when they bought an IP and they're committed to not just immediately going, it's ours, you can't have it. Yeah, they're not just necessarily like that. So I think time will tell the truth. Yeah. And I think some of these IPs will definitely still be very much available across.
I think as we've covered with it earlier, where I said I think the Game Pass is their key to making it available to everybody, and they'll just and if people say they're hiding behind Game Pass by saying it's available to everyone if you buy Game Pass, it's like, but that's just true. If you've got a modern smartphone. If you've got a modern smartphone, or any PC, anything with a web browser, you can play these games. And yes, as Phil said, it won't be 4K 120 hertz. It won't be the best version of these games, but that's where they get you. If you want the best version, you either go buy yourself a shiny new PC powered by Windows where you can put Game Pass on it, or you buy yourself an Xbox, right? But they haven't taken. They haven't taken it away from someone, right? They haven't gone, you can't have this. They've gone, this is how you get it, and we're giving you the option to have that any way you choose to. But it's obviously there's a different ways in.
I think that Microsoft in the gaming space they've been bullied for a long time, because they have been the underdog, and they've had to bend to the will of others, larger players in the industry. And I think what they're doing is, again, I'd say the analogy again, they're staking out their bit of the ground and becoming a bigger player in the playground. They're going to be able to create more waves and drive more things in the industry where they haven't done before. So something you mentioned a minute ago that I wanted to circle back onto, Alan, and this is pointed directly at you actually, is Diablo 4. We know that you are a big fan of Diablo and you're really looking forward to that. Do you think that it is going to become a PC and Xbox exclusive?
So first of all, I want to touch on the fact that I've already mentioned this, but the fact that we were all talking about the environment in which Diablo was, with the studio and Bobby Kotick and everything else. And I think that's important to point out.
We'll also come on to that a bit later, but yeah.
Well, yeah. But yeah. But for me, I'm not that worried as far as I don't see that. It's going to become exclusive. I don't see that. Or if it is going to be exclusive, it's going to be for a short period of time. For me, the important factor is, as a Game Pass subscriber, that I don't have to pay any money. And also, a big part of it is that now that company is owned by a company that actually. I know that Phil Spencer, his first thing is to say we want these companies to be autonomous, and there are clearly issues at Blizzard and Activision that some of the cultural issues.
Again, we'll come back to that in a bit.
I know, and there are clearly issues, but at the same time, that's one of the reasons why in previous podcasts, very Chris and you guys have been very much, we're not going to buy Diablo games moving forward. And I totally stand by that. I have no spine. I do support the people who've gone through hardships. And
you folded like a wet paper towel.
I bought it. What can I say? I bought Diablo 2.
We had this discussion, and I agree with you. There is a point where you have to go, if we don't buy this, those people can't eat. And that's the problem. Yeah. I wanted to support those people, but how do you do that? And I get it. So I get where you're going with this.
But with Diablo 4, I kind of feel that's kind of like, for me as a consumer, that's a great thing, because now I feel like this IP is under a company, a CEO that actually cares about how that game is actually created and the people that create that, the actual developers and the people will work. So while they say they're not directly going to be involved, I can't help feeling their ethos is going to dribble down the system, so to speak, and there is going to be serious change because of that. And I think that's a positive thing, most definitely, not only for the industry, but for the people, but for the company and the developers of the game Diablo, and that's good for me as a consumer, because I now feel confident in my playing of a game, even though I no longer have to I think I won't have to play any more money, so to speak, outside of my Game Pass to play the game. I'm really excited about that. I'm excited about the fact that I can buy it and feel good about playing it and not bad, and feel like that there's something wrong with the actual creation of this product. I think that's a very positive move forward as far as I sort of look at it.
Yeah, let's not kid ourselves as well. There'll be some microtransactions in there for some outfits and bits, so they'll make some money out of that.
Of course,
anyway.
but you don't have to buy them.
Let's not kid ourselves about them not making some additional money on a
I think free to access. Yeah, I think the good thing, like Alan says, I know Craig put the statement up from Microsoft a minute ago there that it was part of the initial announcement.
Later, but we've kind of sort of moved on to it now naturally. Yeah. So I'm just kind of
so if we chuck it up again, I love this. So I'll just go. I'll read it for you, Craig. I'll save you the time this time.
Thanks, mate.
It says as a company, Microsoft is committed to our journey for inclusion in every aspect of gaming, among both employees and players. We deeply value individual studio cultures. We believe the creative success and autonomy go hand in hand with treating every person with dignity and respect. We hold all teams and all leaders to this commitment, and we're looking forward to extending our culture of proactive inclusion to the great teams across Activision Blizzard. And
see, that's kind of interesting, because in one sentence he's saying we respect their autonomy. In the second sentence they're saying, but we look forward to our ethos being proactive within these companies.
But I think what they're saying there is they're saying we look forward to letting these studios do what they want to do in terms of make great games. But what we're not happy to let them do. Yeah, what we're not happy to do is act like complete and utter bastards. Let's not kid ourselves. The stuff that we heard about last year from Activision Blizzard, it was making me feel physically sick sometimes. So it's great that Microsoft have come into this and have gone, we're gonna put this right. We're gonna take care of people in these positions. We're gonna try and be as right as we can by the people that exist and do the right thing and bring it to the point where not only can those people making the games feel great about the games again, but we as consumers, like I couldn't have played Diablo 2, which is a game I love. And again, I'm not having a dig at you for this, Alan, but me personally, there was such a thing. If I'd have gone and played Diablo 2, I would have just felt like I was not justifying it even, but it was that point where it would have left a sick feeling for me, and it would have spoiled it. No, not at all, mate. Not at all, because
I agree with him. He
is.
I think
he's
I think,
absolute scum.
Right, okay.
Not just for that, but in general.
Okay.
I like that, Chris. You're like, well, okay, yeah, he is scum.
I was going to say, it's not for the Diablo reason,
Scum.
but yeah, you are okay. But the thing is, like, but this is the quandary I was left with. Like you said, though, Alan. Like, the problem I was left with was I wanted to make sure the people who made the game were rewarded for making the game. What I didn't want to do, though, it was inadvertently reward people for abusing people, and that was a quandary I was faced with. There was no way I could do one without the other, right? And it was getting difficult to I to wrestle with that. And I wanted to play Diablo 2 from the nostalgia point of view. I was so excited for Diablo 2.
It's good.
I don't doubt it, and I now feel slightly better if I were to choose to go buy it, that I would not be doing the wrong thing anymore.
The problem with this is it's always about voting with your wallet. That's the only thing these big
I have to say,
conglomerates understand is they see a dent in their profits and they know, okay, we need to change something.
And I think this is exactly what that has done, where we've all either voted with our wallets. There's been outrage on social medias, etc., and Activision Blizzard stock got absolutely battered into the floor.
Which made this deal even sweeter, I think.
Yeah. And the board have basically gone to Kotick, you need to sell this. We're not interested in you anymore. This needs to change. If you can get a good price for it, we're selling it,
Just for reference, I did look into the numbers because I was going to bring something up a bit later, but it's a nice point to look at. So, Activision Blizzard on the 2nd of Feb in 2021 were worth 78.2 billion. They've now been sold for 68 billion. Bearing in mind their net profit per year is 2.2 billion. So they've lost 5 years worth of revenue off the value of their company.
I also looked into some numbers and I find it quite interesting. While we're talking about numbers, right? 68.7 billion for the sale, right? Nintendo market cap, they are worth 71 billion. So I thought that's rather interesting. For the extra price of buying Minecraft again, you could actually buy Nintendo. Microsoft could buy Nintendo, which make you very happy, Phil, because then all those Nintendo IPs could come to Microsoft and you wouldn't have to buy.
God, please.
Switch. Yeah, because I know that's what you really
I've got a PlayStation. I'm not buying a Nintendo.
But then then I start to look at the other numbers, and it's something ridiculous, like 146 billion for Sony. But then you start looking at Microsoft, and that's worth $2.3 trillion. I mean, that's just mental.
It's technically a bit worse than that, actually. They actually overpaid. Activision Blizzard are only worth 63 billion. They actually overpaid to get the company.
But it's this point where I think for us as consumers, I don't think, and let's be really clear here, and I'm going to be total cards on the table. Microsoft are not a perfect company. Microsoft has done things badly. There are still things Microsoft do which could be better, but Microsoft are a company which are forward-thinking, inclusive, and want to at least try and do somewhat ethical business. What they don't want to encourage is the absolute insanity and lunacy we heard about coming out of Activision Blizzard. That is not going to happen. And
it's I don't want to jump the gun here because I don't know whether we've reached the Bobby Kotick moment, Craig. But it's kind of a kind of a double-edged sword, isn't it? Because I know that the original press release was that Bobby Kotick was going to stay in the company. And then it kind of got later on. They kind of went a bit further, and they said he's going to be staying until at least after the acquisition has gone through, which isn't expected to go through. I think till June next year.
Yeah, just a bit of clarification for you on that one. So you've got if it was the New York Times that initially reported that he wouldn't be there. Once the acquisition had gone through, and subsequently going through other things. I don't have the direct quotes, so I'm paraphrasing. His contract is due up midway through 2023, so it would suggest that when it gets to that point, his contract's not going to be renewed.
But then, to be fair, there's no universe or parallel universe, because we've all got beards, as we discussed earlier on, and the listeners won't understand what we're talking about. Star Trek reference, parallel universe. But the problem is that it doesn't matter what happens, because at the end of the day, Bobby Kotick comes off here smiling and smelling of roses, because if he stays with the company, all good, but if he leaves, he's walking away with a very hefty golden handshake, and he doesn't have to work another day in his life.
Rich people don't lose. They don't lose.
No.
There was a quote that said that he would be available during the transitional period, and he would be available at request afterwards.
Yeah,
because he was asked directly about whether he would stay on, and
I'm not sure whether that's for operational stuff or whether it's just HR calls.
He just said he would be available.
Ow. Oh dear.
Right.
Wow.
That's a good time. That's a good time to move on, I think, from that, because I don't want to hang around that one, because I don't, that's
Allegedly.
not a nice thing
We
to
don't
talk
we don't know
about.
what the ins and outs of it. And at the end of the day, we're
And,
moving into a better place with Activision
yeah.
Blizzard, which is
The thing I want to move on to next is I'm going back round to our lovely man Phil. Okay, so there's a question that I had written down that I was going to be posing to you. Now, this question has actually been mirrored by somebody in the chat as well. So the question I wrote down is, I know you're a massive fan, so I wanted to ask you, Phil, is that Sony have had a long-standing deal with Final Fantasy XIV on console, and it's never managed to make its way onto the Xbox. Do you think we'll finally see a port of World of Warcraft on the Xbox console or Game Pass?
Whoa.
And thank you, Pete, for mirroring. Great minds think alike, Pete.
It was something I wanted to bring up as well, so I'm glad you asked the question, because you didn't tee us up for that one. You kind of did, but didn't. I think it's very possible. The thing with World of Warcraft is it doesn't play on a controller. Like, there isn't an interface for it.
Too many buttons. It's too many.
Too complicated. There's too many menus. So you can't just port it onto the Xbox. Yes, in theory you can, because you can plug keyboard and mouse and it'll work. I don't see a world.
There's been APIs in that for years for controller.
Yeah, I think they're third party though, aren't they? They're nothing specific.
And we've still got PC Game Pass, right? So
yeah, I could see it moving into PC Game Pass. I mean, technically you play that game for free anyway. I think it's up to something like level 30. I can't remember. There's a specific amount of free to play content in there, and then you have to subscribe to get the latest stuff, and then you've got to buy your expansions. So could I see them adding the expansions into Game Pass? Definitely. Could I see them bring it onto console without a huge overhaul of the whole interface and API? Because the thing with Final Fantasy is they designed it when they redesigned it. They designed it to go on console. The menu system works on console. It's still not great on console. It's a little difficult, as you will attest to, Craig, in your attempt to play it.
Yeah.
But I mean, that was designed with console specific in mind. World of Warcraft has always been designed with a PC keyboard and mouse in mind. I can't see them putting it on a console, not without a big redesign. Phantasy Star Online 2, another good example. Like, that has gone onto console. They spent a huge amount of time and money optimizing the interfaces on that game to make it work with a controller before they ported it onto there. And I've been waiting for that game for the best part of 7 years, because it was previously locked to the Southeast Asia region, and you VPN'd it. They just banned the VPN. Like, it wasn't a way to play it. So, PC Game Pass, yes. Console, no.
Something you said at the beginning of that actually made me think. It's like, again, I did make a comment earlier on about like Microsoft having like Sony by the kahunas in a sense, but it kind of makes me think, when they've got these massive IPs that have been across all platforms, and now Microsoft own them and they can make them exclusive if they want to. How much bargaining power does that give Microsoft to go to Sony and go, do you know what, Final Fantasy? How about we have that on the Xbox as well now?
Well, that's Square Enix.
If we give you Call of Duty, why can't we have Final Fantasy as well? You can still have it as an exclusive, but after that first year or so amount of time, can't we have it come to Sony,
that's up to Square Enix for that.
Yeah, but I'm saying for some IPs, that's just the first example that came to mind.
That's what they did with
a huge bargaining chip for Microsoft as well.
Yeah. And that goes back to me saying about them cornering off their part of the garden. And they're putting some muscles on now, and they're saying, right, you can't bully me around now. You know what I mean? It's so it makes it.
I wouldn't be surprised if Game Pass, talking about World of Warcraft, I would be stunned if suddenly WoW wasn't included in Game Pass for PC.
It'd be madness not to include that. I mean, also, let's be honest. I mean, they've gradually been reducing the quality of the expansions over the years anyway, reducing their player base. So.
Well, I think what was it we saw recently?
Final Fantasy fanboy here.
Yeah,
to be fair, they've gone the other way. That's where all the players are going. The numbers don't lie.
Was it Destiny put everything up to a point in Game Pass, wasn't it? And then the new expansions were paid for. So maybe we'll see something along those kind of models with WoW. It'll be like everything up to a point, but the newest expansion is always paid for 6 months. And then after 6 months, you get
the newest expansion is really bad. That's the problem.
That's the model. That's the model they'll lead with.
It's an interesting point. Yeah, I think that's a fair point to say.
Just for the record, when it does come to PC Game Pass, we're forming a clan. Okay.
I assume
I think it's another form of digital crack.
Will be back again, yeah.
This is another form of digital crack I don't need in my life. It really is.
Stop trying
to get me addicted to things that will ruin my life, people. All right. It's like.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Got enough digital monkeys on his back without us bringing more into the fold.
So I've got another question. So one that's coming through, and I think this is probably going to be our final question, and just to kind of ponder across. Oh, I don't know if it's Chris just frozen. Then no, he's back again. There we go. So one to kind of ponder across the team, but I think I'm going to go to Chris with it first. So. Sony have been buying up a lot of studios too, haven't they, recently? They bought Insomniac, they bought like Blue Point Games. There's loads that they picked up, obviously not to the scale of Activision, but they're buying a lot up. So my question is, what are we going to see next? What studios do we think are going to, or studio do we think, or publisher might get bought next? And who's going to buy them? Is it going to be Sony? Is it going to be Microsoft? Is it going to be someone external? Is it going to be Facebook? Is it someone like that? What do you think we're going to see coming up next?
I mean, there's a lot of movement. The big one that I think is probably most expected is, and I think there's been a lot of talk about it, and as much as they say they're not looking to sell, I've got a funny feeling Square are going to get snapped up by somebody. Quite who? I don't know. The most logical candidate there would, of course, be PlayStation, because PlayStation have got a long-standing experience with things. Yeah, Final Fantasy, because they'll want to lock that down because they know that that's a big deal, right? But I'd imagine that will come at the price of Square. Is Square obviously put Final Fantasy on PC as well. Recently, and I mean, but that's upset a lot of people with being 70 quid. It's like,
and we just got Hitman on Game Pass, didn't we, as well?
Yeah. So there's a load of stuff. I mean, I don't know. Square have also had a good working relationship with Microsoft in the last few years, some other stuff. So I don't know, but Square seems to be a logical fit for Sony. But like you said, there's another company with just boatloads of cash who are very cash rich, which is Facebook. And Facebook, I wouldn't be surprised, if they really look to solidify their spot in gaming. I have a feeling they'll go a little more casual, though. I think they'll look to the smaller, more casual and buy things.
Facebook were trying to buy Activision, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, apparently, from what I've heard, and I don't know how true it is, that basically Activision courted Facebook and Facebook weren't interested. And Microsoft, right. I think the rumor was they went to Microsoft and Microsoft were like, nah, and then obviously, and then. Nah, and then they went to Facebook, and Facebook went nah, and they went and they thought they could get more money for it basically, and no one would pay it more. And then they came back, and Microsoft were like, "You got some money." And so that's the rumor. I don't know.
Dragon's Den sitting there with a pile of cash next to him.
It's like I don't know how true that is, but that it wouldn't surprise me. Because for Facebook to jump in and buy Activision would have been that would have been more so than this Microsoft deal. Would have been cat amongst the pigeons. Can you imagine Call of Duty is now a Facebook exclusive? You can only play it
on the Oculus Rift. You can only play it on the Oculus with your Facebook account, so you have to play it in 3D.
You can only play it if you give them all of your bank details and all your private information, which they will share with all the other companies.
Yeah, and sorry, Phil, I think you mean the Meta Quest, not the Oculus Quest.
Sorry, the Meta Quest. Yeah, my apologies.
Yeah.
So another interesting point then, just on that one. I mean, we've obviously talked about what about Amazon. I mean, the Luna was their streaming service, and they were looking to do their little kind of paint by number, so to speak. Like, you want a bit of Ubisoft, you pay this much, and you want to pick Activision.
Can't you see this working well for them? Because they can now go to Microsoft and go, we'll put a Game Pass channel into Luna, right? And Game Pass, we can give you, we charge £7 for that, and you get that much of it, and you can put the Game Pass titles you want in it to kind of ensnare people towards Game Pass as well. So that's
exactly what I was going to say.
So they can give a Game Pass Lite, which has some of the things in there, to Luna customers. Yeah, and again, you could even say that if they wanted to, Stadia might want to get involved with this and go, can we have some of your games, Microsoft? And I mean, let's face it, is it going to happen? Is Stadia even still there?
I was just about to say, is Stadia still going?
Has anyone opened the door and checked if it's still breathing?
If we're going down that route, is there any studios that you'd like to see disappear? Because then we can vote for Stadia to buy them.
Well,
they said to disappear everything, don't they?
Yeah, Stadia studios have already disappeared, so they're definitely not buying anybody. We know they're not, because they had a load and went, nah. So no Stadia studios, Stadia I'm buying. We can count them out of the discussion. But yeah, I mean, Amazon I think would be a really good fit for some publishers. But
they've run out of money. They spent $500 million on the Lord of the Rings series. They haven't got any money left.
And let's not forget Jeff's penis rockets.
Cock rockets as well. Yeah, they've spent all their cash.
And then they could just make Doodle Jump with a penis rocket to make the money back.
Jeff doesn't think about things in money anymore. He looks at that Lord of the Rings and goes, God, that's 15 cock rockets, that is. Unbelievable.
And then,
by that logic, Activision would have been like a quarter of a penis rocket or something.
Yeah.
cheap, relatively cheap in that sense.
Yeah,
He didn't even have to. He just have to insult William Shatner to do it.
Oh, let's not go there. The William Shatner thing. That's sad.
Oh, that's just sad. That's
Sorry. As I said, like there's so many potential outlets. I think to second guess what's coming on. I mean, obviously, I think the big one is Square have been talked about at length of being purchased. Sony will want something to fire back at this. They'll probably court Square, I'd imagine, but. Whether that will actually come to anything.
What sort of money are we talking about here? Because does Sony even have the capital to?
Well, they've got money, but their acquisitions have been traditionally a lot smaller, haven't they?
I mean, when we're talking
about having the cash, there are other ways to go about it. It's
true.
And I mean, I think, the big thing with this is that there's very little that you can answer this with in real terms, in terms of volume and scale. There's very little that you can buy. The only thing you can buy comparable really is EA. And I don't think anyone except for Microsoft in the gaming space has probably got that cash. Maybe Amazon, to be fair.
I think they're worth they're worth about 45 billion. I think. EA.
Yeah.
And we've already got some exclusives, hasn't they? Microsoft with EA anyway, with EA Play. Yeah. So it's like, do they need to spend the money to actually buy the company? We've already got exclusives.
I can't see that happening. But I see that. Oh, actually, there's one we haven't talked about, which is Ubisoft. Ubisoft is. No, they say it's not for sale, but again, someone could jump in with Ubisoft. Someone might need.
God, I hope Microsoft don't buy Ubisoft. God, I hope.
Do you know what?
We might actually get a proper Splinter Cell.
They get the gaming company that releases the same games every year. Dear God, no.
And it won't just be Dance. Just quickly for reference, Square Enix market cap is 5.9 billion. So
it's cheap. So Sony could probably afford that.
That's what I mean. They probably could afford that. That's a viable purchase because they can leverage against.
That's two of the seats in Jeff's cock rocket. They're cheap.
We circle back to something we were talking about earlier on that Phil brought up. What about Kojima Productions? It's an indie studio that sat out there. What's the chances that gets snapped up by someone?
Well, do you think he'll want to sell to Sony after what they did?
He finally just got out of blooming.
It wasn't Sony; it was Konami.
Yeah.
Well,
and that's the thing. If they've got a good enough working relationship, I know there's rumours that he's doing something in conjunction with Xbox based around the cloud.
The next one's supposed to be an Xbox deal rather than a PlayStation deal. Is the
that's the thoughts behind it. But we all know, these independent studios out there. Yes, it's a big independent studio and it's pretty well funded, but they still live effectively from paycheck to paycheck. If they can only put out so many games. And where does this money come from? And it's a constant battle about keeping the people employed, only being able to expand the size of a studio to a certain point. That's why so many of these studios have been really welcoming of Microsoft, for example, or Sony, picking them up because they're saying, right, you effectively don't have to worry about the money side of things. Here's a budget. Tell us what you want to make. That's your budget, and you just go for it. So they can then focus on the creative side of things and not the business side of things. So
let's not forget,
see why it's a really attractive deal for a game studio because they're all creatives. They don't. Let's be honest. How many people how much is Hideo Kojima worried about where he's how the money's coming in? He just wants to make his crazy nutty games. That's all he wants to do.
Exactly. I was going to say, particularly with Kojima, he's like Marmite, isn't he? So. Some people love him, some people hate him. So he really.
The other side of that coin is when you take away that independence, you've then got deadlines and you've got companies releasing games that aren't finished, which is inherently a major problem in the gaming industry in this day.
But you get that whether they're an independent or not. But they're for different reasons.
That's
the reason they're an independent is because they're running out of money. We need to push it out because we need the money in. So,
Yeah, and I think CD Projekt Red is probably a good example of that. They're owned by nobody, and they still released a game that wasn't finished because they simply cost them so much money to make. And because games are taking so much longer to make these days, that money does dry up, and they have to release something.
Me and Craig had that exact same conversation. Yeah, CD Projekt. But me and Craig had that exact same conversation about CD Projekt Red this afternoon. I said, Cyberpunk is a game which needed another couple of years and probably a decision to drop the last gen consoles, right? And that was all done. Those decisions were made at a corporate level that we couldn't do that because it's too big of a market to drop, and it needs to be out now because we need to be making money on it. And that killed that game. That game is basically dead in the water now. What was supposed to be the biggest game of the last 2 years is just
10 years, probably
10 years. It's just dead. You know, like it even feels like CD Projekt Red are trying to get rid of it as quickly as possible because that brand is so damaging to their brand. They're like, if we just don't talk about it anymore, people might forget it exists, right? So let's do that, and we'll move on to The Witcher again. And people like The Witcher, so we'll re-release The Witcher.
It's classic PR, mate. It's classic PR.
And I said, yeah, this is the thing. It was like, I think, yeah, like you say, someone needs to, it's a difficult one, and CDPR could, if they were going to get bought, I think would have got bought after all the Cyberpunk nonsense because it kicked them in the face value wise. And if someone was really interested in snapping them up, it'd have been them. But if we get them to get The Witcher out again on the next gens, it'll give them a lot of good PR again, providing they don't mess that up. You know, which if they manage to mess up re-releasing that game.
They've been clever with that. The Witcher TV series has done very well, and they're putting Henry Cavill's face on Geralt. So I think they've got that one pretty
sewn up. Can you imagine? Henry Cavill must be living the nerd dream right now. Not only does he get to play it on TV, he's going to get to fire up the game and go, "It's me, look. It's me.
He is king of the nerds, isn't he? He really is king of the nerds."
The old buddy Henry. I mean,
Mate, you need to get that 3D printer fired up. Get yourself a Henry Cavill printed out. Get him in the background there.
It's Cavill, Phil. It's Cavill.
Sorry. Got one. I've got one, and Mr. Cavill in it. So
yeah,
it looks really serious there.
He's very serious. Oh, we've got some music. What have we got music for?
We have. So I think we're kind of getting to that point
countdown
where
timer.
It is.
Is this like the end of a nightclub where they start to play that tune where all the sad people who haven't got anybody to dance with and aren't getting any tonight all sort of standing with a half-empty pint glass looking really sad?
Yeah, well, yeah, you know. And then you start going to your mate, you go, well, I wasn't really that interested in anyone tonight.
No,
it's not been great, you know.
Let's go and get kebab, shall we?
I want a pizza, yeah. Pizza, you're gonna have a kebab.
I don't want to go home with a girl tonight. I want to go home with a pizza and wake up with a hangover.
Our episode back after a long break has been absolute carnage as usual, but it's been really good fun. I've enjoyed that. And again, another really long one. Yeah, it was, I think, about 2 hours for the last returning episode. There'll be another break. Hopefully, thanks, Alan. Hopefully, it's not going to be another long break. So we will try and do these a bit more regularly. And I think it's been quite fun to do it live. We've had quite a few people interacting with us, regular viewers all the way through, and it's been really great to have questions come through. So thank you. If you've only just jumped in and had a look, please subscribe to the channel and like the vids and all that kind of malarkey, because it is nice to see when people are enjoying what we're making. But from here, I think it's just going to be, it's a bye from me. It's going to be a bye from Mr. Thunderlips McQueen.
Hello.
It's going to be a bye from Mr. Rattly Ratster.
Goodbye, one and all.
And now we've made the trend, finally a bye from Mr. Speed Freak Phil.
Still last.
We'll always be last.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
See ya.